Okay, we're live.
It was quick.
Yeah, it was. Good evening.
Good
Or good
evening.
afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. It's our evening.
And even good morning if you're in the Pacific time zone.
Or in New Zealand.
Yes.
There's lots of places in the world here. We're not going to go through them all and say hello to each person separately. Hello, you and you and you. Welcome to our live. So I'm Lucy Power.
I'm Leah Jovie Ford, and we're missing our third wheel today.
Third ball.
Third ball, sorry.
Because we're talking about juggling so much, I just realised today that I know how to juggle with 3 balls.
Yes, so do
So
I.
go that way. So I went to a circus skills workshop when I was at university. And I realised that there's 3 of us and there's 3 balls, that most people juggle with 3 balls, or you can juggle with more. But yeah, our third ball is missing, or our first ball. Hello, Jen. Shout out to Jen. So we're talking to you tonight about, or this morning, about our ways of moving out of the juggle. You know, that time where you are just frazzled with all the too many things, all the separate parts of your life. I'm doing balls in the air there, that you're holding up. So some people say spinning too many plates, and some people say I'm juggling too many balls and I'm scared that something's going to hit the floor and one of them is going to be made of glass and oh my God, and it's all my responsibility. So we're speaking to that sense in all of us, that we're managing too many things and that it's all down to us, and we could well drop something, ruin something, break something, or break ourselves in the mix. Although what we're talking about tonight is how we last think that we might break ourselves. We rarely think, oh, I need to look after myself in this because I've clearly got so much going on. We focus outside of ourselves. We wonder how other people are perceiving our success in this juggle. And we wonder how we're caring well for all the different aspects of our lives.
And when we talk about how to make the shift and how to make the change from no longer juggling to a more integrated life where we feel like we've got things, and if one thing drops, the whole thing isn't going to come tumbling down. We talk about three key shifts that often need to be made internally first. So it's the mindset shifts that need to be made internally before you do any of the practical stuff. And people often kind of throw some of the practical stuff at the wall, thinking that that's the bit that's going to stick, that's the bit that's going to make a difference, that's going to change it. You know, let's have a family wall planner on the wall, and let's do this, and let's have my to-do list organized, and let's do that last thing at night, and all of the kind of productivity tips and tricks and hacks, and the external stuff, which they hope is going to make the biggest difference. And it may sometimes make a difference for a little while, but the balls keep having to be thrown in the air, and there's still that ongoing panic that if one drops, it's all going to collapse. So we're talking about what has to happen before that in order.
Because otherwise, we're papering over a crack, aren't we?
Yeah.
Unless we do the deep work, the mindset work, the therapeutic work, the self-care work, unless we account what's happening for us, we are papering over the cracks. And you can do all the journaling, all the time chunking, all the wall plannering, all the scheduling that there is in the whole wide world, and nothing will improve until you've done the deep work. And the one that we're talking about today is massive. It's massive, and it's something that I'm a personal and business coach and trained in psychotherapy and experienced in psychotherapy. And it's what I come up with too. It's what I come across in my clients more than anything else. The deficit of the thing we're talking about this evening. Leah, what's your experience in the thing we're talking about this evening?
I think my personal experience is different to most people's, particularly women's and mothers, because I have always been super boundaried at this and super good at this, and I see it around me in my own kind of work and my own coaching clients, and the work that I've done over the years I've always worked from the assumption that people are like me, and that it isn't a big shift to make because they're coming from the same position as me. And then
nobody's like you because you're unique and very beautifully special, but also nobody's like you in any way.
clear that they aren't, and that is one of the biggest things that people struggle with, and it brings up all sorts of really deep feelings of guilt and shame, and it's one of the biggest shifts that people need to make. And I think it is unique to women, and it is unique to mothers, because we are conditioned in society to behave in a certain way and to believe a certain thing, and to put other people first, and to put community first, and put our family first, and put our kids first. And we have that message hammered home to us and drummed into us right from the beginning, and
modeled to
us, yeah,
by
through
our mothers, by our aunties, grandmothers, the ladies in the shop, all the people.
And it is one of the, I think, probably the thing that does us the biggest disservice, and that keeps us in this vicious cycle where we can't break out of it, and it feels wrong almost to break out of it.
Yeah. In the coaching world, we talk about things like imposter syndrome and comparisonitis and not feeling enough, and also sometimes feeling too much. So we bandy about these terms, and I think these terms are all symptoms of what we're talking about tonight, which is essentially the sense that you're not as important as anybody else, that our needs aren't as important as all of their needs. And if we once turn our eyes away from all the people in our world back in towards ourselves, we're selfish. And that, oh, I shivered on my scalp as I said that, because that's like the worst insult you can throw at a woman, especially doubly then if it's like gamifying this. If you become a mother, it becomes even stronger. If you become a grandmother, or you work in the caring industry, or any of those things, there's like it racks up, doesn't it?
Yes, and I think there's it's kind of wordplay and semantics, but we associate so much with that word of selfish, and it has come to mean something very negative in our society, and particularly when it comes to self-care and putting ourselves first. And when we're talking about making that mindset shift from putting everybody else first and shifting that to putting yourself first, I think it is one of the most difficult shifts to make. And I think, if we dig into why that is, it's social conditioning. It's the fact that we, sometimes for people, they don't believe that they're worth it. There's a self-value, self-worth thing there. There's a kind of, there is the internal narratives that go on, which stop people from saying it is okay to do that. And it's where some of those narratives also come from, which is where the social conditioning comes in, the family conditioning comes in. And it's how do people get out of that? Because some of those are so deeply embedded patterns and beliefs, that it is literally shifting your mind and shifting your thoughts from this to this.
It's shifting the entire kind of paradigm visor through which you see yourself in your world. And that's not easy at all. It's not something we can fix quickly, but we are really keen to give you the tools, the information, the way to do this, and then to leave you to do that, because we know that you can. I've helped many, many women to do this, to recognize inside themselves the stuff like the payoff for staying stuck, for staying where you are. So what's my payoff when I spend all my day picking up after other people, juggling all the things that I've promised other people that I'll do for them? The payoff is that I get to say, see, I know nobody cares about me. I know I'm not important. I know everybody else is more important than me. And I so wish someone would notice how I'm feeling and meet my needs for me, but they don't. So my payoff is this seething resentment and sadness and feeling of not being important and feeling of being neglected. And that's a feeling that I think me and most women get used to when we're little girls.
Yeah, and I think there are so many external forces that are also in place that keep us in that position of, there's obviously our feelings of guilt and shame, but we have our partners and we have our kids, and they are also conditioned to think in this way, and to think that we are there to serve them, and that mothers and women are there to serve them, and that we shouldn't put ourselves first, because that is selfish. And if we think about the why should we do it differently? What are the payoffs for that? What are the benefits? Why would we want to encourage women to put themselves first? What are they going to get from that?
What I usually do when I'm working either one-to-one or in group programs with people, with women, is start by how changing inside yourself will serve the people in your life, because that's the root in. It's no good me saying to you, change the way you are in your world, change the way you view yourself, because that's the best thing for you. Because at the very start of the journey, that's the last thing that anyone cares about or anyone can actually hear. What we need to say is being better for yourself, setting boundaries, building up trust with yourself, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, feeding yourself first, putting your oxygen mask on first is better for your children.
It serves others.
Partner.
That's the conditioning, though. That's the, you know, the conditioning is that I am here to serve others. So if we have to go in at the level of how can you better serve others? Well, you can better serve others by better serving yourself.
Yeah.
That's the first step, really.
That's the route in, that's the open door, because any other door that we try will be a closed door, will be a like, no, you're all right, love, I'll stay as I am, thank you, I'm useful and good, at least I'm not selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's that the external perspective of people, which again is, you know, when anyone makes a change, it's often not in those closest around them. It's not in their best interest to see that person changing because of what it means for them and the impact that it has on them. So if all of a sudden, you know, I as a mother decide that I am going to put myself first, I'm going to feed myself first, and my kids can just wait for half an hour until I'm fed and, you know, I've got some energy to make their dinner, that's a change for them. You know, why would they be willing and happy to accept that they might have to wait for half an hour because I have spent their entire lives so far putting them first? That isn't how I do it. And, you know, and this, I think, talks to kind of hinting at the second mindset shift, but it is also what we are showing to our kids and what we're modeling to them. And in modeling that we are not, it is not okay for us to prioritize ourselves, and it is not okay for us to put ourselves first. That is what they are taking forward. That's what we've had modeled to us. That's where we've got it from, because that is how that's what's been shown to us. That's how it's been done. And that's what's been held up as right and okay.
And I think that, thank you for that, Leah. That brings me on to thinking about generational scripting and generational trauma that we carry. So I carry a sense, I mean, I've had a lot of psychotherapy, but I honour and can see inside myself this sense that I'm not important and that I don't really belong inside anywhere. So I stand outside and serve that whatever's in there, whatever belongs in there. So my family, stand outside and serve. My community, I stand outside and serve. And that's been modelled to me by my mum, my nana, my great grandma, and back along, you know, she was a good woman because she put everyone first. She was a good woman because she didn't think twice about giving her last penny to the poor or the starving or something like that. So these messages are insidious and all present. They're all the way through us, like Brighton Rock.
And I think that's probably why I can do what I do, because I had a very different model, which is I was brought up by a single mother, but she put herself first. I saw her taking care of her own needs. I saw her having a social life, even as a single mother, and having a babysitter for us so that she could go out and have a social life, and making sure that she had baths every night before she was a teacher. So before she did some more work, and home cooking our food and sitting with us to eat it, and taking care of her own nourishment and nurture, and still meeting our needs. And, you know, the thing that I say to people and other mothers who say, but, you know, what are my children going to think when I grow up? Are they going to turn around and say that I'm selfish? Or, you know, and I don't think that for 1 minute about my mum. I feel grateful that she modeled that to me, to make it okay for me to do that for my kids too. And that has been so important in knowing that it is okay, and that I don't feel selfish, and that I don't feel, you know, my mum did it wrong. And what I saw was a woman taking care of herself so that she could then give the best to us and give of her best. Having, you know, knowing that she's basically operating from a full well herself.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great model your mum was. I mean, I saw my mum frazzled, putting on a false smile. She ran with my dad bed and breakfasts, and they were always there for the guests first, then there for us, and then probably there for themselves. So they were all about serving and giving the best of themselves outward and never ever back inwards, because that was super selfish. So yeah, you're lucky. And I'm just thinking how hard this conversation is to have. knowing that until we know it's there, we don't know it's there. So we might hold this sense that you might resonate with the sense of being selfish when you start to think about putting yourself first, but also not believe that we're healthy and we're okay. And we definitely are. It's hard though to look at women who do things differently to how you do things and how you think things are right, because we're raised with so much propaganda from our society and our culture and our families and our schools. We're raised with this, within this stuff, and this is how cultures happen. And gender is very much embedded in culture. So for women, it is like, you must serve others. You're selfish if you put yourself first, and especially when you're a mum, you must never ever put yourself ahead of your children. And if you're caring for an elderly relative, you must never put yourself ahead of those. And these things we hold as truths, just like this is a glass. It's selfish to put yourself first. It's like it's true.
Yep.
It's like it's a true fact, and it's not. It's an opinion and a culturally seeped in way of thinking.
Well, you know, and to the point that kind of, you know, it's not about right or wrong. It's about right for you. And if you know, if there are people who are watching this, they're watching it. You're watching it for a reason. You know, and if the juggle is getting you down, and if you are literally sick and tired of putting yourself last and not being able to put yourself first, and you know, and there's probably a deep inner sense of knowing that that isn't serving you or anybody else, but you don't know how to change that, and you don't know how to make those shifts. You know, we're not trying to change anyone's mind who's, you know, who doesn't want to, who is happy with their lives and who is okay with the juggle and is okay with doing what they're doing. But if, you know, people know, they know when it's not working for them, they know when it's not working for their family, and there's often a deep kind of that intuition, that gut sense of, this isn't working, you know, there's got to be a different way, or is there a different way? What is the different way? What else could I try? And there is a different way. You know, we found that different way. We don't always get it right. You know, I still go back to juggling sometimes. I still feel stressed to the eyeballs, and you know, and it's a constant work in progress of putting myself first, meeting my own needs, making sure that I'm working from that top well, and just reminding myself that you know, if I don't do that, I can't be at my best for my kids, and they know it. You know, I say that to them all the time, but they know it, and I know it when I'm not operating from that place. And it's a very different place to operate from, and it feels very different. And even when I am stressed, I know that I can get back to that integration much more easily. That, you know, there is a solution.
There is a solution, and we've both patterned it into our way of being. I know that Leah had an amazing model when she was a kid, which I had an amazing model, but not in this exact realm of being. But I've learned it hard through having psychotherapy and coaching and doing lots and lots of deep work on myself with other people with eyes on me who were ahead of me in this particular aspect. I was a pathological people pleaser. I married two people that I didn't want to marry to please them, or to please the audience, you know, the people that were watching, the people that were coming to the weddings. You know, before both of them, I knew that I shouldn't be doing it. And yet I did it because of, what will they think? I'll come across as being selfish, or I'll seem like a battle axe, as I was told my nana was. I had all these multi-layered barriers against actually pleasing myself and taking care of myself. And I've done loads of work on that now. And now I'm really good at setting boundaries and really good at holding myself front and center of my life. And from that place, I am so much kinder and so much genuinely more generous. Before, I'd be like, oh, okay, it's not like I haven't got 1,000 other things to do, but yeah, all right then, I'll give you a lift to there and stuff like that. And never ever say anything like that anymore. If I offer something, I'm offering it from my truth.
You want it deeply, you want to do it, and it's not an effort, and it's not a stress, and you don't then sit there in seething anger and resentment that you feel like you've had to do it. I think what was interesting there as you were talking is that it was a throwaway comment from your nano about being a battle axe, and it's those kinds of things that just go in, the things that have been said.
Little madam, a battle axe, a bitch.
Yeah, throwaway comments as a child, little tiny things. I see that in my kids. You know, they'll sometimes come out with something, and I'm like, where have you got that from? And it might have been something that I said, you know, months and months ago in some kind of throwaway thing, but they've taken that and they've internalized that and they've attached meaning to it and different things to it and created an entire story around it. And that then becomes embedded into that narrative. And, you know, that's what takes them forward. And that's, you know, if we're going to, I think we should set a challenge maybe for the live, which is to look at where some of those narratives have come from. You know, what makes you think that you're selfish if you put yourself first? What have your models been? What has been said to you that you've internalized? Like, you know, you're a battle axe if you do this, or you're selfish if you do that. And that I think that awareness is, you know, as we know, awareness is always the first step to change, but that awareness is crucial because it's looking at where some of these things have come from and whether they're yours. You know, are they your thoughts? Are they your beliefs? They may be in you, but are they the things that you truly think and believe?
Yeah. And are they true? You know, just
are they true for you?
This is a glass, and I am not selfish if I put myself first. I know now it's not true, but it took me years to get there. It took me a long, long time to get there. So if this is completely new to you, we know it's a bit like, oh, really? But we're going to carry on talking about this because it's really important to all three of us. You know, we're going to speak for Jen as well, who's not able to be with us today, but it's really important for all three of us to teach you how to move into integration from outside of, to leave the juggle. It's really important to us. We're here for that. So yeah, ask yourself where the messages that you hold, where the internal blocks against putting yourself first are from and whether they're true. Yeah. And we wish you a great weekend.
Yeah. Happy Friday.
Yay, happy Friday. And we're going to be live with you again here on Wednesday because we're showing up every Wednesday and Friday talking about this stuff. And on Wednesday, we're going to be giving you the second mindset shift that we know, because we've lived through it, is necessary for you to be able to extricate yourself from the struggle of the juggle. And we're going to be putting a link below the video for you so that you can sign up to a series of free emails that will solidify this learning for you and give you it in written form if that works for you. Leah, do you have anything else to say?
I don't know. Happy weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend and we'll really look forward to being with you on Friday. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.